Here's the crappy Walbro off of the 73 140. As you can see, the choke shaft is gone. Ooh. It's pretty clean in there, really. Why it wasn't working, I really don't know. Says Walbro right there. I know it's kind of blurry. Deal with it. But right here it says Walbro. It said WHG 8016-5. Just a generic replacement. See, it's really very clean in there. Gasket's done on the bowl right there. But I happen to have one of these rebuild kits. See, there's the new float valve, gasket. Here's the bowl gasket. But wait a minute, that's not the right bowl gasket. Now, if I come back over to here, a bucket of chem dip. My first bucket of chem dip. That should last me a good long time. And here we go. Now, as you can see, I am currently installing a new valve seat. The old one is right here, and it is pretty crusty inside. So there's the brand new one. We're installing that right now. See, this part of the carburetor is in pretty good shape. The float, still got to clean that up. That's a bit crusty. The throttle shaft was an absolute pain to get out. I ended up putting a pair of vice grips up here and just gently working it with some special rust remover WD-40, which is the yellow top. That'd be this guy right there. And seemed to do pretty good. Just had to be very gentle so I didn't bend or break anything. Here's the needle. I don't have macro on, so you're not going to be able to see it too good, but whatever. You get the idea. But here's what I do pretty good, actually. I've been known to take 2 or 3 carburetors and make them into one to make an engine run, so I don't have to go buy parts for it. And that's basically what I did here. This is the choke shaft out of the Walbro carburetor. This is the style choke lever that I needed for the 140. This had the style of choke lever that you find on the later Kohler engines that have the different style air cleaner where it sucks air in from the blower housing. This is just the generic air filter that Kohler engines use for this particular one. So this is the more common style choke control. So I didn't have that on this carburetor. In fact, the original off this carburetor was this guy, which would be positioned like this, which was wrong. So this is the Walbro's choke shaft, but the Kohler or the Carter choke plate. And that's because the diameter of the inside of this carburetor is slightly larger than the diameter of the inside of this carburetor. So I didn't want a gap all the way around the outside. So in order to get that to fit the Walbro choke shaft, I just drilled these 2 holes out a little bit wider because they were spaced apart wider. But it seemed to have worked. It moves very, very well. I got the detent spring and the little ball back in place. They'll pop out at you when you slide that out, so be warned. Now basically it's just time to clean it up. It's been soaking for 45 minutes or so, and we'll put it together and see what happens. Next step is, well, the torch is out of gas right now, but I'm gonna solder the seams on this gas tank here. You can see the big balls of solder from where the fire pretty much removed it. And then I'm just going to resolder these seams. And we'll try this gas tank out. It's very clean inside. But right now the gas tank that's on that 140 delivers brown gas full of sediment. You can see it in my inline filter, and I think my inline filter is starting to get plugged up. So this 140 out today. It runs pretty good, but I gotta rebuild its carburetor because it's sometimes hard to start. Well, not really hard, but you'll get it running and then it'll die and then you gotta start it again. Don't know why it does that. So, back to work. Well, this is the gas tank that I bought for my 140. This is off of a 120 that went through a garage fire, and all the solder had actually melted out of the seams of the tank. So I just went out to the driveway, not in the garage, outside the house, in the driveway, with the blowtorch and some solder, and you can see my seams here, nice and shiny. No one said I'm good at soldering or anything, but I do have, it doesn't look like it, but there is solder in there. And I don't know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap off the top here and put a little air in there and listen for leaks. If it sounds good, then I will install in the tractor, because this is a nice clean tank. And you can actually hear some of the solder in here that melted through the seams and fell off. There's actually a wall like right here inside the tank that stops gas from splashing around in there. I think is what it does. And it should work just fine. And then I'm going to figure out why the carburetor is leaking on this tractor. It's a carburetor I just rebuilt. Could be just a gasket didn't line up or something. We'll see. And then tomorrow we'll get it running with the good carburetor. Yes! If only I had a working gas gauge for this tank. I'll have to get another one. This is the gas gauge that was on that tank. Maybe I can combine the pieces from the one that's on this tractor now, which doesn't work, to this one. Because that gas gauge doesn't work, it's always empty. Maybe I can put this float in there. Let's see if I can. Alrighty. Till later. Apparently, if you bend that center rod, it flexes just a little bit. You can pop it out of the bracket, and the float will pop out. And if you look at that, my gas gauge is working. How about that? See? Didn't cost me a dime to fix that gas gauge. Nice! This Carter carburetor has made a ton of difference. The thing is running great. Those are the LEDs. See that? The thing is running awesome right now. I told you guys, that Carter carburetor, I tell you, there's night and day difference. Carter carburetor versus the Walbro. If you got a Walbro that works, keep it, but you either buy a brand new Walbro or you fix up a Carter. It probably took me 2 hours to fix that Carter carburetor. I had to soak it and chemmed it, but I got her. Gotta bring the idle up a little bit. It's really running great.